I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. The Department of Justice and Jack Smith, the special counsel, is hard at work following their victory on Thursday, December 1st, where the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals made the ruling that we had been expecting, that Judge Aileen Cannon should never have asserted equitable jurisdiction in the first place. She never had jurisdiction to try to block the Department of Justice from engaging in their criminal investigation of Donald Trump from his theft of thousands and thousands of government records, which they found when they executed the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago on August 8th. And when the appeals court overturns a judge like this, and when the appeals court orders that the decision by Judge Aileen Cannon be reversed and that she doesn't have jurisdiction, effectively what that means and what they said in their order is that the case gets dismissed, right? The case that Trump filed before Aileen Cannon gets dismissed on the grounds that she should never have asserted jurisdiction in the first place. But by law, a mandate from the Court of Appeals issues 7 days after the Court of Appeals makes its interlocutory order. Just for the sake of brevity here, makes their order, which they did on December 1. Why 7 days? That's the law because it gives somebody like Trump or whoever the litigant is an ability to either appeal that, ask for a rehearing, ask for a briefing before a full panel of 11th Circuit Court of Appeal justices, try to file some emergency application before the United States Supreme Court. What I want to be very clear about that if Trump decides to do any of those steps, he's going to lose. I can guarantee you, I could be 99.999999999%, almost 100%. I'll say 100%. I am very confident Donald Trump would not prevail. And we know this because Trump tried to file an emergency application with the United States Supreme Court when the 11th Circuit previously ruled against him and returned the 100 or so top secret documents back to the Department of Justice, where the 11th Circuit previously held that Judge Cannon didn't have equitable jurisdiction with respect to those 100 or so documents. So the issue now is some housekeeping matters that need to be addressed because there are certain dates and deadlines before Judge Aileen Cannon that the Department of Justice still has to respond to before the mandate issues. And when we're saying the mandate issues, a Court of Appeal mandate issuing just basically means that a letter gets sent to the district court judge, a mandate saying the case is dismissed, you're out. But that takes 7 days before that legally can be transmitted to Judge Aileen Cannon. But there are some deadlines before that, and there are some deadlines after that. And so what the Department of Justice and Jack Smith being very diligent and aggressive, went to Judge Aileen Cannon. They just made this filing, and the filing tells Judge Aileen Cannon, look, on December 6th, the Department of Justice has to respond to this motion to unseal the affidavit filed by Donald Trump. So what's that about? Donald Trump filed a motion the day before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals oral argument was held. He filed a motion before Judge Aileen Cannon and requested that Aileen Cannon unseal all of the affidavit that was utilized by the Department of Justice in connection with the execution of the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago when they executed it on August 8th. And so the affidavit was prepared by a FBI counterintelligence official with all of the information of who their sources were and the witnesses who had told them those things, and what information they believed was at Mar-a-Lago. And the information was accurate. They found these stolen items at Mar-a-Lago. But previously in August, Judge Reinhart, the magistrate judge who found that there was probable cause for the search warrant to be executed at Mar-a-Lago, he had thereafter ordered that certain portions of the affidavit be unredacted, that could be made available to the public, and even to this day, that is available to the public. But it is almost never the case, ever, that pre-indictment, an entire affidavit used to get a search warrant is ever made public. That never happens because it can reveal the sources and methods of an ongoing criminal investigation, which could jeopardize informants and put the people's lives at risk, and can jeopardize the overall criminal investigation by talking about the Department of Justice's strategy. And so what Judge Reinhart did was say, look, a portion can be unredacted, but we will redact the rest of the affidavit. So knowing that he was going to lose before the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and knowing that the corrupt Judge Aileen Cannon had made these horrible rulings for justice, but very good rulings for Donald Trump, and was willing to sacrifice her entire reputation, Trump had previously filed before the 11th Circuit oral arguments this motion to unseal the remaining portions of that affidavit. So the portions that are still redacted, that the magistrate judge made a finding that it was in the public interest, and there was a compelling interest for the Department of Justice to keep that other stuff redacted because it could literally imperil people's lives. Donald Trump filed a motion to basically say, unredact those portions of it. All of that should be made public. And so the Department of Justice had until December 6th to respond to that. Also, the media then made a motion, because the media is always going to want more information, and this is what they always just do in high-profile cases in general. They also filed a motion for the Department of Justice to unredact, or for Judge Aileen Cannon to order the Department of Justice to unredact the remaining portions of the search warrant affidavit that hasn't previously been unredacted. So the parts that still remain redacted. And that is set to be heard on December, or the Department of Justice has to respond to that by December 14th. And so December 6th, though, is still before the Department of Justice, or rather before the mandate issues from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. So here in this motion, what Jack Smith is asking Judge Aileen Cannon to do is push all the deadlines back by a week, because the Department of Justice shouldn't have to respond on December 6th, when in fact Judge Aileen Cannon is going to be divested. She's going to lose jurisdiction over the case based on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals order, since she should never have asserted jurisdiction in the first place. And so here is what Jack Smith and the Department of Justice say in the motion that they just filed. They say, if the mandate issues, so if Donald Trump doesn't file an appeal, if the mandate issue, if this court gives us a 1 week extension of time, it's going to conserve the resources of this court, the special master, and the parties, consistent with the civil rule which governs these types of actions. And why is it going to conserve resources? Because the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled, Judge Aileen Cannon, that you shouldn't hear the case. So you shouldn't be making us even have to file an opposition to Donald Trump's motion to unseal or to unredact the remaining portions of the affidavit, because you don't even have jurisdiction anymore. And in 7 days, on December 8th, that is going to become official if Trump doesn't file an appeal. And the appeal would be, because it's already at the appeals court, request a rehearing or file an emergency application with the Supreme Court, both of which he's definitely going to lose. And mind you, the decision by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals holding that Judge Cannon doesn't have jurisdiction was a per curiam. It was a unanimous, scathing opinion that came out on December 1st. The Department of Justice's motion goes on to say, if the mandate does not issue, why would it not issue if Trump files a request for a rehearing or an emergency application with the Supreme Court? So if the mandate does not issue, the court, the special master, and the parties will resume the work where they left off under the extended deadlines with only 1 week's delay. Yesterday evening, the Department of Justice, we wrote to Trump's counsel, to plaintiff's counsel, and asked for plaintiff's consent to a motion to stay the upcoming deadlines, to stop the upcoming deadlines, because Trump lost the appeal and that Aileen Cannon's going to lose jurisdiction. So why follow her deadlines when we're just waiting for these 7 days under the law to occur? As of the time of this filing of this motion, we have not heard back from Trump's counsel. So Trump's lawyers have just basically ignored Jack Smith and the Department of Justice's request that they respond to this and agree to stop the deadlines. So because they didn't respond, here in the abundance of caution, Jack Smith and the lawyers at the Department of Justice are saying the court should extend the upcoming deadlines pending the issuance of the 11th Circuit's mandate in the Donald Trump v. United States. The government suggests an extension of these deadlines in paragraph 4 by 1 week. Specifically, the government response to Trump's motion to unseal the search warrant affidavit be and hereby is extended to and including December 13, 2022. The party's response to the media's joint motion for access to unredacted search warrant affidavit be and hereby is extended to December 21, and the special master's report and recommendations be extended to December 23rd, 2022. And really, the Department of Justice is staring down this December 6th deadline, and they want to basically press pause on that. Look, Trump's Hail Mary motion to try to get Judge Aileen Cannon, who now is being told by the 11th Circuit she never even had jurisdiction. Anyone should have told her that. She should have realized that in the first place. But Trump now wants her to try to make a ruling to unseal those remaining portions of that affidavit, because what he wants to do is the witnesses and the sources and methods of the Department of Justice used to find the stuff he stole, the documents he stole, that's still redacted. So he wants to see that so he can do what he always does, which is dox and threaten the witnesses and try to disrupt the investigation into him. Now, I wouldn't be worried, though, that Judge Aileen Cannon's, even if she did grant what Donald Trump's request was after the 11th Circuit said she didn't have jurisdiction, I wouldn't really worry that Trump is going to get it, because what the Department of Justice would do no matter what is if Judge Aileen Cannon further humiliated herself and further just tarnished her reputation even more, if that's even possible at this point, because her reputation is really just complete trash in the legal community at this point, the Department of Justice would immediately do an emergency application to the 11th Circuit, and I have no doubt at all the 11th Circuit would order that Donald Trump not get those records. So I have no doubt that Trump is not going to get those records. Here, this is some housekeeping, but important housekeeping, and it shows that Jack Smith is moving very diligently. The DOJ won before the 11th Circuit. Now it's time to focus as well on a few housekeeping matters after the victory, and then let's move on to the investigation of Donald Trump. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support, so please hit subscribe. And in addition, check out our Patreon site. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Consider becoming a patron of the MeidasTouch Network. We have exclusive content that you can only get at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. But most importantly, help grow this independent media platform. We are not funded by any outside investors at all. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.